You're listening to the Just Japan podcast. Everything you want to know about Japan.
Hey there, folks, and welcome to episode number 152 of the Just Japan podcast. Everything you want to know about Japan. That's right, my name is Kevin O'Shea, and I'm back again with another episode, another week, another cool topic about Japan. This week, I'm talking to Sam Ramdani, who is a jet. That's right, he's a teacher who lives here in Kobe, Japan. He's also a Kobe PR ambassador, just like me. He's going to talk about the JET program. He's going to talk about learning Japanese language. He's going to talk about the city of Kobe and being a PR ambassador. A great interview, a great talk, an interesting guy, folks. This week, you guys will not be disappointed. Another week with an awesome interview all about Japan here on the Just Japan podcast. Of course, folks, the Just Japan podcast is part of the Japan Podcast Network. Go over to japanpodcastnetwork.com and check out a lot of great podcasts about Japan. That's right. And follow the Japan Podcast Network on social media, on Twitter and at Facebook. On Facebook, not at Facebook. Again, all those links will be at japanpodcastnetwork.com. Go check it out. Support podcasting here in Japan. Of course, folks, you can check out the Just Japan podcast. We're in all major podcatchers, the iTunes, the Libsyn, the SoundCloud, the Stitcher. We're all over the place, folks. And when you want to know anything about the podcast, you go to justjapanstuff.com. And if you want to know stuff about Japan, I'm over there writing all the time. I just wrote a article about buying booze in Japan. About specifically spirits, hard alcohol in Japanese supermarkets. I don't drink this stuff. Spirits, I don't like that at all. Never liked the taste of spirits. Ugh. Whiskey and gin and vodka and stuff like that. But I have to admit, I'm always fascinated by the selection that they have in various supermarkets in Japan, what they carry, and how cheap it is compared to my home in Canada. It's always very interesting. So if you go over to justjapanstuff.com, you will see that article with a whole bunch of pictures I took in some local supermarkets of the booze sections. Of course, over on justjapanstuff.com, there's lots of writing about Japan, lots of cool stuff, lots of photos, lots of things, and the show notes for this podcast. So go over there, bookmark that page, share that page, help the page get bigger and bigger. Each and every day, there's more and more folks coming over to justjapanstuff.com and reading it, and that's awesome. And you guys can help by sharing it around and going there yourself and reading some things. Yeah. All right, folks, we're up to our eyeballs in spring here in Japan, but it doesn't feel that spring yet. I suppose it's been a bit cooler than normal. So the cherry blossoms have not really been blooming yet. This weekend coming up will probably be the first true Hanami weekend. I know last weekend the Hanami parties started, they began, but there was no cherry blossoms. So people were doing the cherry blossom parties with no cherry blossoms. So getting drunk in a park with, trees that don't have flowers on them. This week, hopefully people can get drunk in parks around Japan with some flowers on the trees. Yeah. What else has been going on here in Kobe? For me, a lot of time, I'm on holidays, so a lot of time with my family, a lot of time with my kids, a lot of time writing content for justjapanstuff.com, podcasting, playing Pokemon Go. Yeah, doing all the things that I love to do. And I'm really happy with this week's interview for the podcast. Sam is someone who I've known for the past year as a fellow Kobe public relations ambassador. And if you're wondering what the heck that is, essentially we're a group of volunteers. We volunteer for the city of Kobe as kind of tourism ambassadors. We're helping promote the city around the world using social media, telling people why we think it's so awesome. Because, I freaking love this city. It is awesome and a half. I just had a great experience on the weekend. I got to hang out with Jason is Lost on YouTube. So Jason is Lost in Japan. You go check out his channel. I'm gonna put a link in the show notes. Jason is Lost. He's based out of Tokyo, but he was down here in the Kansai, and we met up on Sunday or Saturday, and we spent the whole afternoon together filming around downtown Kobe, and it was a lot of fun. It was really cool to hang out with a YouTuber. It's been a long time since I've kind of done the YouTuber thing. I have made some video blogs during my spring holiday, but it was kind of like, it felt old school to actually just like meet up with a new YouTuber and collab with them for the afternoon. It was a lot of fun. We shot a lot of great video. We ate some Kobe beef. We hung out in Chinatown down by the waterfront. We walked around downtown. Very, very cool. So and he was wanting to know a lot about the city of Kobe, and I was doing the PR ambassador thing, and he's gonna have a really awesome video coming up that kind of profiles me and the city of Kobe. And when that comes down the pipe, maybe in a month or so or a little bit more, I'll share the heck out of that all over the social medias. So I'm going to put a link in the show notes at justjapanstuff.com to, of course, Sam and Jason, who I hung out with and collaborated with last weekend. Yeah. So, folks, let's get on to the interview portion of the Just Japan podcast, where I talked to Sam Ramdani about life in Kobe, Japan, being a jet, and learning Japanese.
The number you have dialed has been changed. The new number is... Please note, the new number is...
Okay, folks, welcome to episode number 152 of the Just Japan podcast. Everything you want to know about Japan. And this evening, it's a connection close to home. It's a Kobe connection. I'm chatting with Sam Ramdani, who's based right here in Kobe, Japan. Sam.
Hello.
And welcome to the podcast, Sam.
Thanks for having me very much, Kevin. It's my pleasure.
Awesome. And this is a first-time guest, folks out there in the Just Japan podcast land. We have a fellow Canuck on the podcast.
Yeah, I'm from Vancouver.
Woohoo! Nice. And before we get into talking about, Sam's story and what he does here in Japan, what he does here in Kobe, Sam, first of all, of course, could you tell the Just Japan podcast listeners a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from, and what you do in Japan?
Okay, well, I go on this for a long time, but I'll keep it relatively basic. So my name's Sam. I'm from Vancouver, Canada. I'm 27 years old, and I'm living and working in Kobe right now as an ALT on the JET program.
Nice. Okay, so you were on the JET program, and we have, in the past, we've done, I think, we really did like one episode about the JET program itself, and that was really early on. That was like, I think, maybe like episode 4, 5, 6, or 7 in the single digits. And
what episode am I? What episode are we on
this
now?
is 152.
Okay, wow, okay.
Yeah, I'm doing this for a while. So that was, I think I had Jason from the My Argonauts. Yeah, that's right.
I watched that guy on YouTube a lot back in the day. Yeah.
Back in the day, back in the day, he was the source for information about the JET program.
Mm-hmm.
He was the one that everyone went to. So you're here as a jet now. For those who may not be familiar with what that is, because I know a lot of the people who listen might not be researching about teaching or this or that. What is the JET program in a nutshell?
The JET program is basically, in my opinion, the best way to come to Japan if you just graduated university, or you're about to graduate university and you want to come, you want to work, but you don't really have any specific credentials. But basically, it is a government-sponsored program that hires native English speakers from I don't know how many countries. It's a very long list of countries now. And so it hires you from your home country through the consulates or the embassies of your country. Okay. And then they fly you over here to Japan. They give you a little training in Tokyo. And then you end up getting directly employed by the Board of Education of wherever you live. And then you work in public schools and teach English. Generally you'll be an ALT, an assistant language teacher.
Okay.
And that just means that there will always be a Japanese teacher in the classroom with you, and you're supposed to team teach, but there's varying degrees of that, obviously. There's also the CIR position, a coordinator of international relations, and there's another position, I don't remember the name of it, but it's some sports position. But basically like 90 90 or more percent of jets are ALTs, tiny amount of CIRs, and like I think every year there's maybe like two or three of the sports people that
Of
come
this
over.
weird mythical sports
Yeah,
position
yeah,
where you get to come over and be a foreign PE teacher.
yeah. And I think they generally hire people that have like some very high pedigree, like high background in competitive sports of some kind. Yeah.
Right on, right on. Cool. Okay. Well, we'll talk a little bit more about the JET program later on in the episode. Now,
Okay.
one thing I'm curious about, and I know I sent Sam some talking points. I like to send people these from time to time. If it's not a regular, like my good friend Jim, Mr. Mully, where we just kind of go off the cuff. Normally, I
Mhm.
send talking points. But one thing I'm curious about, and I just thought of this a few moments ago before we started the our discussion. The first time you and I actually met in person, and we can talk about that a little bit later with about the PR ambassador program.
Yeah.
When I first met you, you just said, "Hey, you're Busan Kevin, right?"
Yes. Yes, I
And
did.
so this guy knew me. So I'm just curious, how the heck did you come across me online?
So I don't know if you're gonna like this story because it's gonna make you feel a little old, Kevin. But
Well,
I
I am. So it's okay. I'm a bit long in the tooth, as they say.
yeah, I don't know what happened exactly. It must have been when I had graduated from high school, and I think it was before I even started going to university, or
Oh
maybe
God! Oh God!
yeah,
So
or maybe
old.
yeah, or it might have been in like my first semester of university. But
Okay, yeah.
I started to get into the Japan thing,
Okay.
and just noticed a couple of YouTubers
Hmm.
online, and you were really, really one of the first that I ever saw. And I just saw you like cruising around at nighttime with a camera pointed at yourself and talking and rambling about different stuff
And this
in
was
Japan.
I was in Kobe.
Okay, so
Well,
this would have
no,
been
I assume was I in Kobe because I mean I guess I started doing the YouTube thing back in 2006 and I was in
mm,
Korea. I didn't do those
mm,
walkie-talkie vlogs then. I think I
mm,
really started doing those in Ottawa, and that probably would not have caught your attention.
yeah.
So because if you're into the Japan thing, you'd be like, why am I watching a guy walking around the streets of Ottawa talking to a camera?
Mm,
But I came to Japan in 2008, and I was vlogging like the moment I landed.
wow.
So
Yeah.
I'm
This.
assuming that's probably around the time then maybe. If you're saying you're 27, that would make sense. Probably right around
Yeah.
those early days of me in Japan.
Yeah, I think this would have been 2010. No, no, no. What am I talking about? 2008. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It would have been 2008, 2009 kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah.
And so, I mean, I checked you out a little bit. I think I hit the subscribe button. Uh,
Hey.
and then I checked out a bunch of other people. Somebody told me about the JET program, so I checked out Jason, my Argonauts. I
Hmm.
was also really, really into this guy named Scott Unrested.
Yeah. Okay. Scott Ackerman. Yeah.
hmm Um, and then
He's
there's
been on the
actually.
podcast too. He did an episode early on in the Just
Mhm.
Japan podcast talking about being tattooed in Japan.
Oh, right on. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, a couple of my friends got tattooed here too, but it's the scary stuff. Needles. Yeah,
Well,
I
I
don't
have
want
no
to do it.
tattoos, so I wasn't really. A lot of people said, "Kevin, can you talk about being tattooed in Japan?" I said,
Mm,
"I can, but it'll be a really short episode." So I
yeah,
brought Scott on because he's got a lot of tats.
he's a
Yeah.
good speaker, that guy. I like the way he talks.
Yeah.
And you know what? There was actually a guy that not a lot of people in the J-vlogging community really talk about, but he's based in Osaka, and his YouTube channel is called Bum Number One. And he is the guy that, like, when I first started watching it, he has this series that teaches people how to speak Japanese. It's very NSFW, I would say.
Mm.
Yeah.
Uh,
So,
okay. Okay.
anyways, but that's one of the ones I checked out.
Right on.
Uh, so I guess
Cool.
that's how I
So
found
it's
you. Yeah.
okay. So you were into, and I guess that was, I mean, relatively speaking, the early days of the J vlogging community. There was no term J vlogging then.
Mm,
You know, back in the day when I got into it, when I arrived here in 2008, there was really just a small handful of us
mm,
doing it. So a lot of us got a lot of traction early on and a lot of subscribers because there was very little content about
right.
Japan. Now there's a ton.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I told you too, like when I eventually came to Japan to study abroad, um, I tried my hand at doing some YouTube stuff, which, I check my analytics every now and again, but yeah, never got anywhere really with that.
And by the way, what is the name of your YouTube channel?
Well, how kind of you to ask, Kevin. Um, I guess the actual username is T Tiger, and Tiger is spelled with a Y, so
Okay.
Ttyger. But if you, usually I just tell I rename my channel Kokusai Samu,
Okay.
so yeah, KOKUSAISAMU.
Cool. And there
Yeah,
will be a link in the show notes, guys,
nice.
at justjapanstuff.com to that address, and we'll talk about that later on. You guys go subscribe to Sam's channel. Okay, so
Do it.
Sam, we already talked a little bit briefly earlier about the fact that you are a member of the JET program. So I was wondering right
Hmm.
now. I mean, you did tell us a little bit about the JET program, but I'm
Right.
curious. You know, I've heard this from a lot of people over the years. They've said that for those who are interested in coming to Japan for a year, 2, 3, to have that Japan experience, if you have a university degree, the JET program is one of the best ways to do it.
Hmm.
So could you tell us a little bit about the process that you went through to become a JET? And I guess before that, even, where did you find out about the JET program?
Right. So, I was working just in like my last year of high school, and then right out of high school, I was working in this warehouse, and it was the worst job ever. And just picking up boxes all day. And one of my coworkers was talking to me about how, he's like, "Oh, you should go teach English in Japan because I did that when I was around your age, and I went over there and made a lot of money." And had a great time and saw the country and traveled and had a great experience, blah, 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 blah. And I guess I hadn't really thought about what my next step in life would be.
Mm,
So that sounded like a great thing to do. And excuse me, my parents were always kind of pressuring me to get a secondary education, or rather a post-secondary education. So I enrolled in university, and I was kind of just feeling it out. But you know, flash forward however many years later, and I had the degree. And I really think the JET program is what kind of kept me in school because, especially after I had gone to Japan and then come back, I didn't really want to go back to school.
okay.
When I had gone there to study abroad. When I'd gone there to study abroad, so yeah, it just was a good light at the end of the tunnel, a good goal to orient me to aim towards. And of course, I was watching Jason's videos a lot, and that helped me too. Um, and yeah, just everything kind of worked itself out. I thought to myself, if something else comes up, I'll go for it. But yeah, nothing else came up, so I just applied to the JET program.
Okay, so I want to backtrack for a moment there. You said something there that
Yeah,
so you studied abroad in Japan. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
yeah. Okay, yeah. So that was really interesting. My school back home in Vancouver, I guess I can say the name of my school, right? I
Of
don't
course,
know.
yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, it's called Langara College,
Okay.
and when I was going there, they didn't have any study abroad trip to Japan. They had this little 2 week or 1 week tour, which oddly enough, I signed up for that for their inaugural tour. It was going to be the first one they went on, and that was they were supposed to fly out in like May 2011. So I went to the
Ah.
the tourist agency. I bought my plane ticket, and then 3/11, the big earthquake and tsunami happens, and the school canceled the trip. And of course, when I purchased my plane ticket, they said, "Do you want to spend a little extra money so that you can cancel the ticket for free if anything happens?" And what did I say? What do you think I said?
Oh, no
I
way. I
said,
don't need to do that. I want to save that
"Of
money.
course not.
Yeah.
Of course, that's what I said." Oh,
What's going
horrible.
to happen,
So
right?
yeah, was there gonna be a big earthquake or something? I know.
Yeah.
So that was funny. I lost a bunch of money. Oh, well, maybe like 200 or 300 bucks, but oh well. Anyways, eventually what happened was my Japanese teacher went to Japan as he does every summer,
Mhm.
and he kind of shopped around for some universities and tried to establish a one-to-one exchange program. So they send a student from their university to our school, and
Mhm.
we send one from our school to their school. It's still going on, this program, but it's been a bit of a challenge because obviously there's way more demand for Japanese students to come study in Canada and learn English than there is for Canadian students to go to Japan and study Japanese.
Yeah.
But I think he almost like had me in mind when he was going around and doing that, because when he came back, I was chatting with him and he said, if you'd like to continue studying Japanese, because I'd finished the courses at the school already, what you can do is go to one of these two universities. And he showed me all this information, and eventually I went. It was a really good opportunity because I actually paid tuition to my own institution, and then they just like let me study there for free,
Wow, which
basically.
is much cheaper than university tuition in Japan.
Yes. But it was a little bit rocky because I was the first student from my school to go over there, so the relationship wasn't really fully established. I mean, it was smooth in the sense that, like, I got met at the airport by a student. They sent me on a train, go to the dormitory, stay there. But the problem was I had already done like four Japanese courses, like 2 years worth of Japanese courses, and when I got to class the first day, they're like, okay, so this is how you draw the hiragana ah.
Oh no.
That kind of, oh yeah, that kind of
Oh,
basic
so
stuff.
like completely day one.
Nothing.
You okay? Starting from scratch. Oh wow.
Yeah. And so I told them, I think I can maybe do some more difficult stuff than this. But then they put me in there with the guy that had been there already for 6 months and was at a more advanced stage. But even that wasn't quite difficult enough for me. It was just material that I'd already covered.
Okay.
So they put me in another class, which was it's primarily for students that are going into the regular course, the regular pool of students, and they want to get a graduate with a degree from that school. So it's kind of like a preparatory Japanese course to make sure they're going to be all right to go on and do that.
Okay.
And then in that class, it just everything was in kanji. I couldn't understand anything. When one student would have a trouble, like a problem, they'd raise their hand and ask the teacher. And because most of the students in that class were from a Chinese language background, the teacher would write several other kanji that they could read, and then they would eventually kind of be like, "Oh, I see how you use that kanji in this context."
Oh wow.
And I'm sitting there like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
Yes.
I got you. I
So,
got you.
in terms of the studying, the education, it wasn't the best, but in terms of experience, that 6 months definitely, kept me on track and oriented me and made me say, okay, you know what, I'm gonna go hard on this Japanese stuff.
Okay, great. So where were you studying in Japan, by the way? Where was the university located?
It's a relatively well-known university called Ryukoku.
Okay.
Ryukoku. It's based in Kyoto, but I was living in Shiga because they have one campus in Shiga.
Okay.
But I would study 4 days per week in Shiga, and then one day per week I would take a bus over to Kyoto and study at the campus there.
Cool.
And from the dormitories, it was only about like 20 or 30 minutes by train into Kyoto, so it was a good location. Yeah.
Wow, yeah, it's a great place to get your feet wet in Japan. Cool. All
Mm,
right. So then the love affair was really set, and you decided I'm really going to do this. I'm going to come to Japan. You get into the JET
mm,
program, and then
mm.
you end up in Kobe.
Yeah. Oh, I was so stoked. Okay. I
And
don't
now,
know. I
now,
don't know if you've
now,
had
actually,
this
I
moment.
one thing I do know, I don't know much,
Yeah.
but one thing I do know is that normally jets are not put in big cities. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll
So
let you go from there.
yeah, I think I know how to hack the system a little bit because what they ask you on your application is, do you have a driver's license and are you willing to drive in Japan? And I chose no. And I think a lot of people not wanting to be, ineligible or considered, less desirable hire,
Yeah.
they'll check yes because they're like, I'll do anything to get over to Japan and teach. But I said no, and that basically limits me to having to be in an area that's either really, really close to my school, which is not often feasible, or in a decently sized urban hub that has a lot of public transportation. which that's what Kobe is. And then
Absolutely.
also like I requested Kyoto. What did I request? Kyoto, Osaka, or Fukuoka. I requested, and I also requested a urban center. So
Okay.
I think you can request like urban, semi-urban, or rural, and I requested urban. So, but I think for people that want to apply to the program, if you kind of do stuff kind of like I did, there's a decent chance you'll get placed in Kobe because we have a population of about 120 ALTs, and we cycle through them pretty decently. We get about 20 or 30. I think last year we actually got 50 new jets. So,
Wow. Okay. So for those of you out there who are listening who are really unfamiliar with this process, when you do become a jet, you don't know where you're going to be posted, right?
yep.
So you could be in Hokkaido, you could be in Okinawa, right?
Mm-hmm. And
Or
that was
somewhere even years ago there was a YouTuber for a brief period she was online. I can't remember her name, a blonde-haired woman who was on this island off the coast of Tokyo. Oh
oh
God, I
wow.
can't remember what her name was, but it was this island that was like a 1 or 2 hour boat ride from Tokyo,
Oh,
and
I know that island.
it's considered
Is it
part of
the
Tokyo.
Yeah, is it
Uh,
the Ogasawara Islands?
Maybe that's it. But she was
It
like
might be the
the one
yeah.
foreigner there,
Yeah, well that hey.
you
I
know.
have a friend. I have a
I bet
friend
her Japanese got real good. Yeah,
I think your Japanese would get good, but then you might end up being like you might end up speaking with a really weird dialect because generally those islands speak in quite heavy dialects. But
true,
I
true.
have a friend that got placed on an island off the coast of Okinawa. So I guess Okinawa has tons of islands, but
Yeah,
he's in a
yeah.
very
It's
remote
it's a
one.
chain of islands. Yeah.
Mm. And the population of his island is 400 people.
Wow.
So yeah, so he's really out there. But
Wow. That's
mm,
crazy. That would be an interesting experience. A very unique
mm.
Japanese. That'd be someone to get on the podcast. Wow. Talk
Yeah, I
about
can hook you up. Yeah.
yeah. Talk about a rural experience. I mean, I had Jason from My Argonauts. I think maybe episode number 2, Life in Rural
Hmm.
Japan. I
Mm,
believe he was on, but he was still just in Shimane,
right.
on an island of 400 people or something. That'd be wild. Okay,
Yeah.
so Kobe. So you're here in Kobe. So how many years have you been in Kobe?
I arrived in 2015. Yeah, so less than 2 years, just less than 2 years.
Okay, so you're here in Kobe.
Mhm.
Um, I guess I'll just jump into it. It ties into this whole thing. For those of you out there who are active listeners of the podcast, you know that I do something. I'm called a PR ambassador, a public relations
Mhm.
ambassador for the city of Kobe, and Sam is as well.
That's
And
right.
that's how we actually met. Sam is a Kobe PR ambassador. I'm a Kobe PR ambassador, and I just want to talk. I want to talk some more about Kobe. Louise will like this episode. Um,
Mm,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So first of all, you came to Kobe. Um, what? How? What is it about Kobe that you like so much? Why were you so happy to land here?
Well, honestly, when I was studying abroad, there were a couple of people that took little day trips to Kobe,
Okay.
and I thought, oh, that's cute, it's a different, I guess it's a different town, but I didn't really understand what the identity of Kobe was, and I think that's probably the thing that a lot of people miss because they just think it's another city in Kansai that's not Osaka. So like, I think a lot of people skip over Kobe. They come to Japan and do Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka,
Yeah.
and Hiroshima or something, right? Um, so I was in the same boat. I didn't really know what Kobe was about, but I knew it was close to Osaka, and I
Hmm.
figured I would want to go to Osaka and live a little night on the town every once in a while, if I may say, right?
Hmm.
And I knew I would also probably want to go back to Kyoto and walk around by the river eat at some of the restaurants I knew over there and things like that. So number one, proximity I was happy about. But then since I've been here, I realized there's a lot to like about this city. First of all, it's not too big. Like
Mm.
Osaka, I don't know if you could ever really get your grasp around that city or like Tokyo, you know? It's just so big and so alive. You might be able to you sink your teeth into one neighborhood or something, but you can never really learn that much about the city. But Kobe feels like a good size. You can walk. I think I've heard you mention on the podcast before, but this is a super walkable city.
Oh yeah, I
So,
mean, absolutely. Like yesterday,
mhm.
I was interviewed by a YouTuber named Jason from Jason is Lost in Japan. Jason is Lost YouTube channel.
Okay.
He's based out of Tokyo, and he's touring around Kansai. And we met up and we hooked up around lunchtime. We filmed all afternoon, and I gave him basically a
Uh,
tour of the city. And essentially, he was doing almost like a travel video for the city of Kobe. And that's one thing we talked about is
mm,
like you can walk, like you land in Sannomiya Station,
mhm.
downtown, and you can hit so many impressive sites and important places just by walking around. There's even,
Yeah.
I mean, and if you are a walker, not like, if
Mhm.
you really like walking, I mean, you've got like literally ocean to the mountains in about 30 minutes
Mhm.
on foot, right?
Yeah, that's what I say. That's what I say to people too, because I'm from Vancouver, and when people ask me to describe Vancouver, I often tell them it is the place where the mountains meet the ocean.
Mm,
um, which
absolutely.
is kind of maybe overly poetic, but that's the same thing with Kobe, right? You got the mountains right behind you and the ocean right in front of you, depending on the orientation of your living situation. But yeah, I just love that, and I also really love that like you have the Sannomiya, the thriving urban area. You have Kobe Station, which I live close to now, which if you get into it, there's like an area called Shinkaichi, which is a lot deeper. It's like
Yeah.
it's got the old. Have you walked around there a
Yeah,
lot
I
or?
have not a lot, but I've walked around there, and I used to when
Mm,
I was years ago, I was really into marathon running, and so I spent a
right.
lot of time running around that area just because I'd be running all over Kobe, which is one of the things
Mm-hmm.
why I personally got to know Kobe so well was from running.
Hmm.
I'm like, let's explore, and I would always have a camera with me because I was a YouTube weenie. So I'm like, let's
Right, right.
explore cool random places and film them.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah,
I,
Shinkaichi.
I
That's
wonder
yeah.
if I wonder if you've ever been around my neighborhood. So I live in a really weird spot now, but it's just a little bit west, southwest. Yeah, southwest of Kobe Station. So like, you know how Shinkaichi, is this too, this might be too deep for people that don't never been to Kobe. But
That's okay.
anyways,
Go with
I
it. Go
live,
with it. Go with it.
okay, okay. Um, yeah, it's just south of Shinkaichi where I live. I live in a neighborhood called Nishi Demachi, and this is one of the other things I love about Japan. Do you ever go on the internet and like get stuck in a Wikipedia like black hole?
Oh, like you fall down the rabbit hole. You do that on YouTube all the time. I
Yeah,
know that. Yeah.
that too.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that too.
Absolutely. A Wikipedia rabbit hole. Whoa, where am I going? I'm reading
Exactly.
more and more and more, and learning more. And then I want to become
Exactly.
and
And
then and
so
then then I suddenly want to become a Wikipedia writer or content creator because I'm like, this is a
yeah.
really cool place here that there's nothing about. I should create information about this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and especially if you come across some stuff as I have, which has very detailed information in Japanese, but almost nothing in English. That always irritates me. But I checked out this neighborhood before I moved in, did a little research, and it turns out the Yamaguchi Gumi, which is the largest Yakuza group in Japan,
Hmm.
was originally formed in my very neighborhood.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, I mean, they were formed right here in Kobe because this was a port
Yeah,
city, and all
yeah.
of the Yakuza families have connections to like the kind of equivalent of like the longshoremen unions.
Hmm. So there's a port just about a 2-minute walk from my front door, which is where they must have worked. And
Hmm.
then they must have formed the organization. I did enough research to find that the first two Kumicho, the first mob bosses of the Yamaguchi Gumi, were like from the Yamaguchi family. But the third one was a family friend, and he's the guy that really made it take off. I think he took over just after World War II.
Yep.
And
Okay.
then
Yeah.
and then he grew it into the largest organized crime group in Japan. But that happened exactly within like a radius of like 50 meters of where my house is, kind of
Well,
thing.
that's pretty awesome. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool history. And I mean, and then later on, in modern times, the Yamaguchi-gumi, which is the biggest Yakuza family in Japan, had their headquarters up near Honkyu Rokomichi Station. And then recently,
Ah.
but yeah, I took a few selfies in front of it,
Uh-oh.
and made a
Did
video
anybody come
too,
out and talk to you?
and made a YouTube video. The cameras
Wow. Did you?
everywhere.
They didn't try to like come out and shake you down or something?
Because it was like 7 a.m. on a Sunday morning, and I was out running. And I'm like, I'll
Um,
take the pictures. No, oh God, that didn't happen. Oh, yeah,
yeah, that's kind of scary.
that would have been scary. I was nervous doing it, but I'm like, I want to do this.
Mm,
And then recently there was a split in the Yamaguchi-gumi.
right,
Two
right.
years ago, a year and a half ago, and now they
Hmm.
fractured into two factions. One based
Hmm.
in Kobe proper here, and the other there's the Yamaguchi-gumi and the Yamaguchi. Oh, I don't know what they call it now, but there's another one that's on
They
Awaji Island.
Right, right. There's the Kobe Yamaguchi-gumi,
Yeah,
and
that's
then
right.
there's the
The
Yamaguchi-gumi.
Yamaguchi-gumi, and the Kobe Yamaguchi-gumi. And
Hmm.
yes. If you ever hear, guys, about gun-related deaths in Japan, 9 times out of 10, it's connected to organized crime because
Mm.
they're the only ones who have guns. But aside from that, yeah. So that's an interesting part of Kobe's history. But
Yeah, yeah.
but there's a lot more. Uh, Believe me, folks, Kobe's not a scary place. It's a
It's
wonderful
not a
place.
scary place. My neighborhood's very nice now, but
It's all
yeah.
very nice. Um, but uh, but yeah, so we're in Kobe, and
Hmm.
Kobe is a huge tourist destination, and it like for especially for domestic tourism. I mean, like so many
Right.
Japanese people come to visit Kobe because it's an air. I'm going to use air quotes. Well, I suppose actually maybe not even. I'm gonna put down my air
Hmm.
quotes compared to other cities in Japan. It is very international. Um,
Mm.
so okay, so something came up a while ago. There's a thing called the PR Ambassador Program, and what is that?
So the PR Ambassador Program is a group of 19 people who live, work, and or study in Kobe here. They're all foreign residents, and what they do is they go around town and they take pictures and videos and whatever, draw stuff, and then they upload it to social media and they hashtag it up and they tag the Kobe PR ambassador account and they basically promote the city through social media.
Hmm. Yeah. So that's. I mean, I'm one of them. You're
Like,
one of them.
yeah.
There are 17 other people who do it as well, and I mean,
Hmm.
yeah, tell me, okay, so you've been this PR ambassador. We both
Hmm.
became, essentially we're volunteers. We're community volunteers helping promote the city
Hmm.
of Kobe, and
Hmm.
trying to get more English speaking people maybe, who are not from, I mean, obviously this is a hot spot for people from China, Korea, Taiwan, but we're trying to get people from other countries to come here.
Hmm.
Um, So, as a PR ambassador, what are some of the things over the last year that you've been a PR ambassador that you've kind of focused on and tried to share with folks out there on social media? That the cool things about the city.
Yeah, I notice a lot of people doing the same stuff. Like they go up to Arima onsens and they go hashtag onsen, and then they go over to Nada and they're like, oh, hashtag sweets and stuff. And that's all fine. That's great. But I think I'm into the more like grimy, gritty parts of Kobe. I want to get in there and get deep. And not all the Kobe PR ambassadors, have a command of the Japanese language. But
Mm, yeah.
I'm not the best myself, but I get in there with the OG son and in the bars and the restaurants, and I try to find things that um, you wouldn't really encounter unless you get deep into what Kobe is.
Nice.
So some things I've done. Oh goodness, I guess I do a lot of like I try to be very spur of the moment as well. But one of the ones I thought was kind of interesting recently is you may have seen uh, there was a Yaki Imo uh, truck.
Mm.
So
That's
I kept hearing it.
basically a baked sweet potato truck.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Oh, sorry. Thanks for translating. Yeah, Yaki Imo.
a lot of people know what that
Um,
is. Yeah, yeah. So
right, right.
the trucks that literally will have like a wood fired oven in the truck or in the back of the
Yeah,
truck, and they will bake sweet potatoes for you, which are so freaking good to eat.
I've never had one, but
Oh,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Please forgive me.
they're delicious.
I
They're awesome.
I kept hearing it go around my neighborhood, and it has this
Like
broadcast.
yeah.
Can you do it?
Yaki emo. The one that drives around here in my neighborhood is
Yeah.
like, let's see if I can do it. It rides around and it goes Yaki emo, kind of like
Yeah,
that,
that's pretty much what the
and it
one in
just
my
kind of
neighborhood's
goes
like too.
on and Yaki emo. We like remember like at night like tucking my kids into bed, like laying in bed with them as they're like going to sleep and hearing that in the distance, and my kids are like, "What's that, Dad?" Like that's the potato truck.
Yeah, the first time I heard it, I was like, I thought, am I going to be murdered soon? Like, because I thought it was some kind of cult, or I thought it was like a ultra nationalist group, or I thought it was just like a ghost, maybe. I didn't know what it was. And then I pick my ears up and I listen to what they're saying, and I'm like, is he saying baked potato? Is he? It just didn't compute. And then finally one day I see this elusive Yaki Imo truck. I snapped a picture of it and I put it up on my social media. So I try to get that kind of stuff, you know?
Nice, nice. Yeah, yeah. No, it's good to get those um, off the beaten path. I mean, I think one of the things,
Mhm.
my kind of area of specialty as a PR ambassador is I'm a nature weenie, so I'm really into bugs and
Right.
birds and stuff like that. So I'm like out there like documenting like migratory birds and stuff, and I'm like, I guess one of my shtick angles is like there's like lots of urban nature. Like
Mm,
we're in this big city of 1.5 million people, but there's nature all over the freaking place if you just look around. It's amazing. So
right.
I'll be like, look at this bird here in Kobe Harbor. Or look at this migratory bird that's in this river in the middle of the city. And I take pictures of that kind of stuff and share that around. That's kind of I think more my angle as a PR ambassador.
Mhm. I
So
think that's cool too, that we all have a slightly different perspective on the city, and so we all do something different. I think in my case, it's definitely intentional that I'm trying not to copy other people, but if in a word or in a short sentence, I would say I'm doing kind of like urban exploration, but not about the nature stuff, just like
yeah, yeah,
I'm trying to
the gritty
discover,
urbanness that
yeah,
we don't the kind of off the beaten tourist path,
exactly. Yep.
right? And then we have we have some really interesting people in this program. We've got like Graham,
Hmm.
who's an artist.
Yeah.
We've got Richard, who knows everybody in the world. Um, he's what you
Yeah.
call a suit.
Richard.
I think they refer to something like that as a super connector.
Yeah.
You've got Epi, who is a performer and a musician,
Mm,
and there's many other really awesome people who are doing really cool things with this program. And it's
mm.
going to be continuing next year. There will be more PR ambassadors, foreign residents of Kobe promoting the city, which is really cool that it's going to be continuing.
Are you doing it next year, by the way?
I won't be doing next year. I will not.
Kevin.
Well, I mean, I won't be in an official capacity, but come on,
Okay, right, right.
I won't be doing it in an
Yeah,
official capacity. But as I live in Kobe, I'm always promoting the place because I like it so much. Yeah.
yeah. A couple of my friends who did it last year, there's a couple other ALTs. They
Mm.
decided not to reapply either, and they were like, I don't think I'm gonna get it, but hey, why not, right?
Oh, I'm sure I would if I wanted to, I would. But
Yeah,
I've got a
I
social
think
media presence, obviously, with this podcast and whatnot. But I mean,
yeah.
yeah, at the end of the day, I'm always sharing pictures of Kobe. I'm always sharing. I don't have to have that kind of official moniker, PR ambassador. I guess I am
Mm.
unofficially. Like I can remember when I applied for it, I said to the people who were considering the candidates, I said this is basically what I've been doing for 8 years anyway.
Yeah,
Now I'm
that's
just
true.
adding different hashtags. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so hey, we've talked a lot already about I sent you a bullet point about talking about learning Japanese. You obviously you've talked about that already. Um,
Oh yeah.
one cool thing though, guys. Sam recently helped me. He was a translator for me, and for all of you out there wondering, you're like, hey Kevin, you've been living in Japan for a long time. Why would you need a translator? And I will admit I'm one of these people who've been in such a foreign bubble, and especially because I'm not an English teacher, guys. I'm not out there like in schools with kids speaking Japanese. I'm not in a situation every day. I'm not in a teacher's room where no one understands English. I'm at an international school,
Mm.
and I'm literally just like I'm speaking English in my house with my family. I get on my bicycle, I cycle to work, and I'm a homeroom teacher. So I teach at
Mm.
for anyone out there who wonders, if you may, some of you may know of something called an IB program, the International Baccalaureate Curriculum. So I teach an IB curriculum. So that's like this big international type of kind of inquiry, discovery, learning kind of curriculum. I'm a homeroom teacher. So I'm literally with a group of kids teaching them in English. I teach all subjects, math, English, science, like everything, social studies, all day long, and then I hop on my bicycle and I cycle back home to my
Right.
family, where we all use English at home. So like I'm in this kind of interesting. But now most people aren't quite as in such an intense English bubble as I am.
Hmm.
But because of the fact that I'm in that bubble, um, really the only time I'm using Japanese is when I go to a store or something like that.
Right. Mm.
Yeah, so recently the two of us, we filmed some public relations videos for the city of Kobe, right? Which is
Hmm.
pretty fun. We got this whole thing called Harvest Kobe, promoting the city of Kobe is promoting agricultural tourism, and you filmed a video, I filmed a video. We had to go do some voiceover work, and thank God this man hung around, because would have been rough without him for me.
I'm sure you could have gotten it
Yeah, yeah,
done,
yeah,
but
yeah, 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 yeah. But
eh,
yeah. So Sam, your Japanese is pretty good. Um,
I
well, I
don't
mean,
know.
it's pretty good. It's a heck of a lot better than mine. So
Don't want to toot my own horn, you know what I'm saying?
so
But
do you? So obviously you're working in public schools, so you are using
yeah.
Japanese on a daily basis, right?
I guess so, yeah. I mean, with my OTEs, the official teachers of English, I they try to speak Japanese with me, but they need to have English, so I kind of just speak English with them.
Yeah, because
But
they
if I
need they,
want
they
to
need the
chat with,
practice, don't they?
they do. Not all of them, but I hope they don't listen
Most
to
of
this.
them.
Anyways, yeah, well, everybody can use a little brush up on those kind of skills, right?
Yeah.
But if I want to have a little chat with one of the other teachers, I would be speaking Japanese. And I do have a small handful of Japanese friends that don't speak English or speak English at a level much, much lower than my Japanese. So when I'm hanging out with them, we just speak in Japanese.
Mm.
But yeah, it was funny when we were at that narration thing because they were telling me they're like, oh, and Kevin is coming in, but he, if you could stay back for a bit because his Japanese, I don't think he really speaks Japanese that well. And I said, Kevin, he's been he's been living in Japan since before I ever opened a Japanese textbook.
Nope.
He's got to be crazy fluent. And then
No.
I came in. Yeah, they're talking to you, and I see a little look of concern on your face, and I was like, okay, time to roll up my sleeves.
Yeah,
Time
yeah,
to
no,
show off a
it's
little bit.
absolutely, it's and I'm going to admit, I'm actually, over the past years, I've heard people like, I'm really embarrassed or ashamed that I've been here this long and I don't speak Japanese. In my
Mm,
situation, I don't think that's a strange thing. Because like, my work environment, there's like no Japanese around me.
mm,
And when I come home, my children, who we want to be bilingual,
mhm,
are like, my son goes to he went to a Japanese kindergarten, so his only opportunity to basically interact with a native English speaker is with his father. So when I
mm,
come home, we just speak English, and it's not like a bang bang hammer hammer down down like this is English time. but that's
Mhm.
kind of the natural evolution of it. Also, my wife, I met my wife several years before I even came to Japan. So I
Mhm.
met my Japanese wife in Korea, and then we lived in Canada, and then we lived in Japan. So
Mhm.
we had been together for many years in an English relationship. So it's kind of like, kind of makes
Yeah,
sense.
I get it. There's tons of Japanese people I know that go to Vancouver, for example, and then they get a job at a Japanese restaurant. They live in an apartment with Japanese roommates, and they go out and have fun with Japanese friends, and
Yeah.
they don't end up learning English. I mean, it depends too, though. Like if your whole goal of going to Canada is to learn English, then I would definitely say, don't do that, avoid that. But in your case, you got other things. You got to make that paper, feed your family.
Yeah,
So there's
exactly,
other
exactly,
concerns.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, for all of you that are listening, if you spoke Japanese in Japan, yes, it does make your quality of life a lot better and easier.
Mhm.
No doubt about it. So
Mhm.
do your best to, and I think most people won't find themselves in my situation. I'm not
Right.
in a unique one, but not a common one. Um,
Not very common.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, all right. So, okay. So you've been in Kobe now for, you said, almost 2 years. Um,
Mhm.
so uh, I don't know. What are your kind of future Japan plans? Would you like to stay in Japan post jet?
Oh, oh gosh. You know what? I haven't thought that far ahead. Personally, I have an inkling that I'm gonna be a member of the 27 Club. The Kurt Cobain, Amy Winehouse,
No,
who else? Jimi Hendrix.
no, you
Yeah.
won't.
So this is my last. I only got another 10 months or so, 9 or 10 months on the planet. No, I'm just kidding.
No,
But
no, no, no,
I
no.
really, I haven't
Stop
thought
that
about
silliness right now.
it. No, really, I haven't thought about what I'm going to do with any level of seriousness. On the table are a lot of options. I could go back to Canada and try to find work there. I could stay in Japan and try to find work here. Um, but I don't really feel like I don't know. I think the catch-22 that a lot of people face when they come here on the JET program is that if you come on the JET program, you have a very stable job, a job with a relatively good salary if you're young and single and depending on the cost of living in the city that you're placed in.
Mhm.
Um, but then once the program ends, whether voluntarily or by reaching the end of your maximum allowed contracted years, you're in this position where, okay, you're super qualified to be an ALT, but you're going to be working for a dispatch company probably. And so you're going to take a hit in your salary. You're going to probably get fewer days off per year. You're probably going to have a slightly less stable contract where you could do 1 year, but they might want to switch you out after 1 year. So it's not a good scene for ALTs that continue doing that work after the JET program. So I'd like to maybe look into bumping up my skills, get some kind of certification for teaching. I've heard you can go and get like a CELTA
Uh-huh. Yeah.
certification, and that can be a bit of a benefit. I don't know. You probably know this better than I do. Is CELTA useful without
I think
an
so.
actual
I think
teaching license?
I think CELTA is obviously, you're not going to be able to get a job in an international school with the CELTA certification, but CELTA is going to help you. And the that I mean, I'm pretty sure CELTA is more for teaching adults, so that might help you
Oh,
towards like maybe a university position possibly, but the university
uh,
positions tend to want a master's degree in something.
yep, yep.
So even
Hmm.
myself, when it comes to a university teaching position, I wouldn't have a chance of teaching at a uni because I have a Bachelor of Arts and I have a Bachelor of Education. So I've got two degrees, but they're both bachelor's
Uh,
degrees, no masters.
hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So, um, you know, I can give you
Yeah,
some
that's an option
I can give you
too.
some tips off mic tonight about that one though.
Right on,
But yeah,
right
yeah,
on. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
That's an option. Or I was thinking maybe start a little company, start, trying to hustle a little bit and make some passive income. I think that's the name of the game nowadays, Kevin, is passive income.
Yeah.
Lay on the couch, and see the money come in.
Oh darn
That's
it!
what I want
I'd
to do.
love to do that. I need to make some kind of website where I can just lay back on the sofa all day long and just let that money roll in.
Hey, you're on the way though, aren't you? You're doing something.
Well, yeah, but I mean, justjapanstuff.com has no advertising or any kind of monetization system.
Not
But
yet.
not
Not
yet,
yet.
not yet. Give me a week or two, and I'll be lying on that sofa. The
Yeah,
bags of money
cook
are gonna be
something up.
dropping from the ceiling. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
pina colada in one hand and I don't know, something else in the other.
A beer.
Cool. Yeah. So Sam, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight on the podcast.
My
If people
pleasure.
are wondering where the folks out there, the fine folks in the Just Japan podcast land are wondering how they can connect with you or follow you on social media. What social media would you like to share with us?
So I think to see my Kobe PR ambassador stuff, best idea is probably Instagram, which I go by Samir Pierre, SamIrPierre.
Nice.
And then Twitter is, oh, do I even know my own Twitter? I think it's Sam Sam P Ramdani, I believe. So that would be SamPRamdani. I don't post on there a whole lot, but you can go there.
You're pretty
And
active
then
on Instagram though.
yeah, Instagram I'm decent. Facebook is honestly the one that I'm the most active on, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be like adding friends. But on Facebook they can they not just choose to follow me as opposed
Yes.
to add me as
Yeah.
a friend?
Yeah.
Okay, so in that case, then just look for Sam Ramdani on Facebook. SAM space RAMDANI. That would be a very, very, very good idea, and I don't think they would regret it one bit.
Cool. And I'll post all those links in the show notes at justjapanstuff.com for episode number 152. Well, Sam, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
No, thank you very much, Kevin. I really appreciate it, and I hope I get a lot of followers on YouTube on everything, and then I will see the money start rolling, and I will have a pina colada and a beer.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. I'm sure within moments of me posting this episode, the bags of money will be rolling in because
Those are my expectations.
those are your
Yes.
expectations, and yeah, they're not too high at all. They're not too high at all. All right, man. Cheers.
Thank you.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.
All right, folks. Well, that does it for another episode of the podcast. I want to thank Sam for taking the time to stop by the Just Japan podcast. Go check out his YouTube channel, Kokusai Samu. There is a link in the show notes. Go check out his YouTube channel and go there, like it, subscribe to it. Sam make new videos, all that stuff. Haha. Yeah, that was a great talk. Really cool to hear his perspective on life in Japan and his journey to come here. Very interesting through university, learning Japanese, and very cool, very cool. It's one thing. Hey, I always say one thing I love about podcasting is meeting new people, talking to new people, and getting to share their stories with you, awesome folks out there. Now, of course, speaking of awesome stories, I'm going to push the deadline on this a little bit more. One last pitch, folks. The I Love Japan project. For all of you out there listening, I want you to contribute to an episode of the Just Japan podcast. One more week left. Okay. Send me an audio clip. Tell me why you like Japan. Why you like Japan? Why do you love Japan? Share that with the world. You like the Just Japan podcast. Obviously, you're liking Japan. You like Japan. Share with others why you like Japan. I want to put together this kind of collaboration episode, and already a few people have sent me audio clips, and I really appreciate that. Just record yourself on your iPhone, your Android device, on some kind of mic. It just has to be any kind of audio clip. I can convert it and email it to me at justjapanpodcast@gmail.com. You say something like, for example, like this. Hi, my name's Kevin O'Shea, or hi, my name's Kevin. I live in Akron, Ohio, and I really love Japan because when I was a kid, my family had some homestay students from Japan who stayed at my house, and they were really cool. and we spent a lot of time playing games together. And then I really got into, they introduced me to Doraemon manga, and I got really into Doraemon, and that just kind of really set me off, and I love Japan so much. So now I love watching anime and reading about Doraemon and this and that. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, maybe something like that. And none of that's true, by the way, because I never had the fortunate experience of having exchange students stay with me, because I lived in rural nowhere Eastern Canada. But make a clip like that. Tell me why you like Japan. You don't, I mean, if you've been here before, tell me about an experience you had traveling. If you've been here before, tell me about an experience you've had with food. If you've never been here before, tell me why you're interested in Japan, and share that with people, and why you want to come here. And again, send me those audio clips at justjapanpodcast@gmail.com. Very simple to do. Very simple to do. Just record yourself on your phone or on your laptop or whatever, and then just email me the audio clip. If you're more comfortable making a video and throwing it up on YouTube, do that and just send me the link, and I'll rip the audio from it. Or it could be public. It could be just an unlisted video. You can just send me the link, and I'll rip the audio from that. I don't mind taking the time to do that. You guys are worth it. This is a project, a kind of a community building thing for you guys out there, the Just Japan podcast community. I want to get you guys more involved. Again, I've already a few clips have been sent to me, and I'm appreciative of that. I'm very excited, and I want more of you guys to send clips. So I give you another week. Hurry up, do it. Send them to me. JustJapanPodcast@gmail.com. All right, well, that does it for another week, another episode of the podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you guys for making this the most incredible month ever for the Just Japan podcast. We broke our record in December. We hit a record of, close to 30,000 downloads. It was like more than 26,000 downloads. And hey, I'm recording this right now on the 27th. And we've already crushed that December number, and there's still a few more days to go. Wow. And I haven't even made the news podcasts this month. So in that month, I had more content coming out, more downloads. This month, there's actually kind of more of a normal level of episodes of podcasts, and we're crushing it. So, wow. For all you guys out there who are new listeners, thank you for listening to the Just Japan podcast. Thank you so much. Please follow me on Twitter at JLandKev. Go like the Facebook page at Just Japan Stuff. Come over to justjapanstuff.com. Follow me on Instagram at JLandKev. Even check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com/BusanKevin. And for all of you out there who've been listening for a long time, thank you so much. I'm always so appreciative of what you do. Appreciative. Why am I'm having a lot of trouble saying that word. Okay. Well, there you go, folks. So remember, you can always find us on all major podcatchers. Just do a Google search for Just Japan Podcast. One thing you awesome peeps out there can do to help grow the show, spread the show, make it bigger, better, more awesome, is by sharing it on your social media. When a new episode comes out, share it on your Facebook, on your Twitter. It helps a lot. All right, guys. And remember, check out the Japan Podcast Network over at japanpodcastnetwork.com. That is a little organization that myself and a few other podcasters have started to help promote community within podcasting in Japan. All right, guys, that does it. My name's Kevin O'Shea. I am the host of the Just Japan Podcast. Wherever you are in the world, I hope you're happy, hope you're healthy, and I'll be talking to you soon.